Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be going over the deck list for my Papalymo Totolymo deck, and I'm just going to be calling him Papa Doc moving forward because it's a lot easier for me to say. And Papa Doc, yes, Papa Doc from 8 Mile, the movie, the Eminem movie. So yeah, it's a lot easier for me to say, and Papalymo Totolymo, at least for me, is such a mouthful. So Papa Doc, he is henceforth going to be known as. And for those of you who do not know, well, before I get into that, this is the updated version of my deck list, the one that is the very first very first video on my YouTube channel. Went over the deck list for that. And today I'm going to be bringing you guys the updated and hopefully improved version of that. So if you guys don't know what he does, for Orzhov mana, you get a legendary creature, obviously, because he's my commander. A Dwarf Wizard, that's a 1/2 that states, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Papa Doc deals 1 damage to each opponent and you gain 1 life. For 4 mana, you could tap him, sacrifice him, and then each opponent who lost life this turn sacrifices a creature with the greatest power among creatures they control. So that secondary ability is just icing on the cake. The first ability is the one that we're going to be wanting to trigger early and often. That's the main focus of this deck. Although the second ability is not too shabby and can come up in quite a few scenarios, especially like, let's say you need to get rid of a creature and you've triggered his first ability, you can go ahead and do that. Hopefully, you know, it's like an edict effect. And secondly, let's say they try to target him, you can go ahead and activate his ability. That way he's off the board and your opponent loses their target. So there's different ways you can, handle him, and there's different situations where that's going to be pretty good. So that's him, and let's go ahead and go through the rest of the deck. And so we play a total of 6 creatures only, and probably the most important creature in this deck is going to be Dark Confidant, aka Bob. We need ways to refill our hand. So this is basically a spell slinger deck, which is weird because it's Orzhov. Usually that's like an Izzet or a red or a blue thing. But so since we're in Orzhov colors, we have to find ways to help refill and replenish our hand. And Dark Confidant is one great way to do that. So we play Dark Confidant, then we play Orcish Bowmasters, which is probably, and most likely the best black creature in this format. So if you're playing black, you're definitely going to play an Orcish Bowmaster. Then we play Torok Dreadcantor, for 4 mana total because of the kicker cost. You're going to be discarding 2 of your opponent's cards, and that's just amazing. And then we play Emperor of Bones, the modern all-star. If you're playing black, really love him in this deck because he's like a beater and he serves as graveyard hate. And then there's a few tricks you can do where, like, you can also target your own creature in your own graveyard, and then go off from there. And then we play 2 new additions to the deck that I made from the last time, and that is Sedgemoor Witch and Monastery Mentor. Since this basically is a spell slinger deck, you want to maybe be creating tokens. Sedgemoor Witch gets you the pester or the little the pest creature tokens that when they die they gain you life. Plus she has menace and ward, which is her ward cost is to pay 3 life. And then I'm pretty sure most of you folks are familiar with this Monastery Mentor. You make a bunch of monk tokens once you play non-creature spells. All right, so that is it for the creatures. We'll put those over here. All right, now we're going to be playing our draw effect, our draw ability cards. Let's see here. We play quite a few of them, or actually only 4, my bad. The first one we play is Insatiable Avarice. This card is pretty good. I was considering cutting it, but then I tried playing without it, and I would much rather have it. For 1 black mana, it does have Spree. The +2 is you search your library for a card, then shuffle it and place the card on top. However, you're not going to be doing that most often. The thing you are going to be doing most often is the second Spree ability, which is for an additional 2 black mana. Target player draws 3 cards, it loses 3 life. So that definitely helps replenish our hand. Then, of course, if you are going to be playing black and you want to help replenish your hands, you're going to be playing these 2 cards, which are Sign in Blood and, of course, Night's Whisper. And then let's talk about one spell that I just recently discovered. And oh boy, is it quite a doozy. I really love this card. The way I discovered it was through a Andrea Mengucci video, Mengu's Workshop, his channel. I really love that channel. On that channel, he plays a bunch of other formats like Pauper and Pre-Modern. And he was playing a match of Pre-Modern, and he was playing this card. And yeah, I just discovered this like a couple of weeks ago. And I ordered it, and it arrived the other day. And for those of you not familiar with Skeletal Scrying, let's go over what it does. For black mana and X, it's an instant that states, as an additional cost to cast Skeletal Scrying, exile X cards from your graveyard. You draw X cards and you lose X life. So that's really good. You know, you do this during the end of your opponent's turn. You know, you tap some mana, exile some cards, and then you draw cards. Yeah, it does kind of suck that you have to lose a life, but Papa Doc helps you replenish that. There's other cards in here that help you replenish your life as well. And this card also uses, you know, your graveyard as a resource, and I absolutely love that. So this is just an amazing card, and I can't believe I did not know about it. Okay, so those are our spells that help us replenish our hand. Now let's take a look at the Hand Ripper cards. And we also play 4 of them. First off, we play the best 1-for-1 hand removal spell in the format, and that's Inquisition of Kozilek. Then we play Dread Fugue, which is really good as well. And then another card that I did not know existed until I saw that Andrea Mengucci video. Yes, just goes to show how much of a Magic noob I am. And that is Gerard's Verdict. So for those of you who do not know what this does, it states for Orzhov mana, it's a sorcery. Let me get that better in focus. And I apologize for the glare. You know, I'm still working all the new YouTuber kinks out. But for that cost, target player discards 2 cards from his or her hand, and then you gain 3 life for each land discarded this way. So it's not as good as Hymn to Torok, because first you got to pay, you know, Orzhov mana, and the second is that your opponent gets to choose the cards. But this still rips 2 cards out of their hands. This is a +1 in terms of card economy. Plus, if they decide to get cheeky and they, you know, discard land cards, then you get a benefit in the form of gaining life, which is really useful in this deck. So I absolutely love this card as well. I love anything that makes me go +1. So yeah, that's why it's in this deck, because losing 2 cards really sucks. And for the best hand rip card in the deck, we're going to play Hymn to Torok. You basically have to play this card if you're running black. I know it's double pip, but, you know, having your opponent discard 2 cards at random is huge, especially in the early to mid game. You definitely want to see this early and often, and I think that's the best hand rip card in this format. So those are our 4 cards, hand rip cards. Next, we're going to be playing our bombs. And what I mean by bombs are things that cause your opponent to have an excessive loss of life, and we also, coincidentally, also play 4. And the first one is Suffer the Past. So for those of you not familiar with this card, what this does is for 1 black mana and X, you exile target cards. Excuse me, I can't read today. Exile X target cards from target player's graveyard. For each card exiled this way, that player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So this is really good in the late game if you want to like close out the game. During your early game, it's really good if you want to snipe things out of your opponent's graveyard. Let's say they try to reanimate something from their graveyard or even your graveyard, although that's not the most ideal, but it helps in a pinch. So if they try to reanimate something out of the graveyard, you play this, boom, play your 1 black, plus you play X, hopefully you have some mana open, and then you exile whatever they're trying to target. It's also good against Uro and Flage. You go ahead and snipe those guys, and in the late game, you know, if you have like a bunch of lands, you play this, and hopefully X is like a pretty good sizable number. You can just close out the game, or it also helps out in a pinch if you need to gain life. So that's why this card is in here. I think this card is really great, and it's pretty underrated in my estimation. And then for our next bomb, we play Dread Grasp. So for Azorius, excuse me, I don't know why I keep calling Azorius Orzhov, or Orzhov Azorius, and vice versa. Anyways, for Orzhov mana, it's a sorcery. Death Grasp deals X damage to target creature or player, and then you gain X life. So there's other cards like Insanguinate that kind of do something similar, but I decided to go with Death Grasp because unlike Insanguinate, you can target a creature, not just a player. And then, you know, during the late game, this is really good. Or if you need to get rid of a pesky creature, there you go. That's why this card is so versatile. It does a bunch of things you want to do. It causes your opponents to lose life, or you destroy one of the creatures, and you gain life in the process as well. That's why this card is in here. All right, and then we play the Mother of All Bombs in this deck, and that is Profane Command. I'm pretty sure most of you guys know what this does, but the loss of life is super relevant, and the fact that you can choose another mode, either to give a target creature X at minus XX, or a couple of your creatures gain fear that we can attack for a game maybe, or reanimate something out of your yard. This is really good. And then if this is the Mother of All Bombs in the deck, the card that I consider the nuclear warhead, is more powerful than the Mother of All Bombs, despite the names, is going to be Torment of Hailfire. I think this card is utterly insane. I don't know why more people don't take advantage of this. Maybe because I might be missing something. Maybe because this is only good during the late game, mid to late game. But I think this card is absolutely insane. If you have the mana and they don't counter this, and I know that's a couple of big ifs, you can just flat out win the game, especially in a deck like this that just pings your opponent to death. And so I think this card is utterly insane, because either they're going to lose the game or they're going to lose a bunch of card advantage. So yeah, so that's what I consider the nuclear warhead of the deck. Okay, next we're looking at a couple of utility spells and dark. The first one is dark, and I only play 2, don't play 4. And the first one is Dark Ritual. Enough said, everyone knows what this is. And then Cling to Dusk. I know I keep slobbering this card, but this is for good reason. I absolutely love this card. It's like one of my favorite Magic cards ever. It just does so much. I can't stop singing the praises of this card. I think this card is absolutely phenomenal. I think if you're playing black, maybe you might want to main deck or even side deck this. But, just one of the best graveyard hate cards in this format. I absolutely love it. All right, next we're going to be going on to our removal spells. Let's go ahead and go over our removal sorceries. And first we have Bloodchief's Thirst. I really think this card is super good. You also, not only do you get rid of creatures, you can also get rid of planeswalkers. For 1 mana, you destroy target creature or planeswalker 2 CMC or less. And if you kick this for an additional 2 generic and a black, you just get rid of anything in this format. Any creature or planeswalker in this format that's a legal target for this. And then we play a really good card that I took out of the side deck and decided to main deck. Is going to be Prismatic Ending. And again, I got the holo version, so with my terrible lighting, it's going to be a little bit hard to see here. But yeah, this is an absolutely phenomenal card. Then we have the best board wipe in this format, and that's Damn. And then Strategic Betrayal, another new card that I can't stop singing the praises of. I think this is absolutely just a great card. It's not a broken, it's not super insane, but it's really freaking good. And for those of you who don't know what this does, it's a sorcery for 1 generic and a black. You target opponent exiles a creature they control and then their graveyard. That's just really freaking good. It's an edict effect, so it gets around all those hexproof and indestructible abilities and things like that. And instead of the opponent sacrificing the creature, they have to exile it, so it avoids a lot of death triggers. And then it exiles their graveyard, so there's a lot of Flages and Uros and things like that running around in this format, and this just helps take care of them. It's just a really great card all around. Okay, next we're going to be going over our instant removal spells. And we do play quite a few of them. Oh, I forgot to mention this. I don't know how this ended up over there, but another one of our board wipes is Toxic Deluge. I think the second best board wipe in the game. Okay, now we'll go over our instants that remove creatures. And first one is Cut Down. This was standard legal up until a couple of months ago, and it was a very sad day for me when this left, because I think this card is really, really, really good, which I say about a lot of cards. But in this case, I really mean it. So we got your Cut Down, and then your Fatal Push, which is the best black removal 1-for-1 spell ever. And then we have the best removal spell ever, which is Swords to Plowshares. March of Otherworldly Light, which is amazing because it also takes care of not only just pesky creatures, but also artifacts and enchantments. I remember in my tournament that I played a couple of months ago, and the Reborn Rumble, it got rid of Blood Moons. It really, I freaking hate Blood Moon. It's one of my most hated cards of all time. And when I got rid of it with this, it was just so damn satisfying. All right, then we have Long Goodbye, which is like a staple by this point. Another black staple, Shielder's Edict, Eliminate, and of course, Anoint with Affliction. All right, so that does it for our all of our spells. Now we'll go over our lands. And I play 17 of them. Command Tower, obviously, every deck that's not mono colored is going to play this. And in our duels with Scrubland, Shadowy Backstreet, Godless Shrine, and then what I like to call the fake duels. No slight to these cards, but they don't have the basic land typings. That's going to be Bleachborn Verge, and then Isolated Chapel. Alright, and then for our fetch lands, we play 4. We play our Marsh Flats, our Bloodstained Mire, our Verdant Catacombs, and then our Polluted Delta. Those are our fetches. Let me make some space right over here. Okay. And then for our utility lands, we're going to play Urborg. We play Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth. And this card isn't as great as I thought it was going to be. I might switch this out, probably like for a Wasteland or something. Because initially I thought that this dealt with Blood Moon. But no, if this and Blood Moon are out at the same time, guess what? Blood Moon still wins. And not only that, but Blood Moon versus anything else, most likely, more often than not, Blood Moon wins, which is another reason why I freaking hate that card. And then we play another card that I just added to the deck, and that is Castle Locthwain. So like I said, one of the main things that this deck is going to struggle with, one of its biggest weaknesses, is refilling your hand. And so this land helps us do just that. It helps us replenish our hand. And then we play 4 basic lands. We play actually 5 total. We play 4 swamps and 1 plains. So there they go. The reason why I do that is I took a look at a lot of like the double colored decks this format, like the topping lists, and this is like the ratio that a lot of them play. Some play like weird ratios, but this is the ratio that I decided to go with, not against, excuse me. 4 swamps, because most of this deck is like 80% of the pips are black and only like 19-20% are white, which is only why we only run one. I can't talk tonight, which is the reason why we only run, see, I can talk, 1 plains. And the reason why we play this count is to again help us against Blood Moons, help us against Wastelands and things like that. Alright, so that does it for this deck profile. If you do want to play this deck, like I said, one of the biggest opportunities, one of the biggest weaknesses for this deck is having to refill your hand. So that's why we had to play things like Nice Whispers and Castle Locthwains and so on and so forth. So if you know any more spells that help us do that, just let me know, that are also mana efficient, of course. But the thing that I love the most about this deck is that it plays like a lot of cards that just help us, like just cause our opponents to like either take damage or lose life. That can, hit them pretty hard. It makes them rethink their strategies quite often, and that's what I really like about the deck. However, there is a tournament coming up next week, another Reborn Rumble in Clear Lake, I believe. Clear Lake, California. Not sure if I'm going to be taking this list or another list that I am working on that's kind of similar to this deck, but I don't want to say too much. But yeah, so if I don't take this, I'll be taking something else. But yeah, I have about a week to decide what I'm going to take, so we'll see. And I'll be bringing like another tournament report video once that tournament happens next weekend. Alright folks, so that does it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys on the next video.